Have you ever wondered to yourself, geez, I really wish there were more Metroid games on Switch? Oh yeah, Castlevania too! I really wish more games these days had this sort of level of exploration. I know, I always get lost, but I just love it. Well, if so, then you're in luck, because boy oh boy, this thing is full of them! I'm Zion from Nintendo Life, and today we're going to introduce you to a brand new genre of gaming that has never been uttered on the Nintendo Switch eShop in history. The Metroidvania. Feast your eyes on a fusion of the genres. A big map? Check. Weapons and abilities that allow you to progress further? Check. Backtracking? Check. A Metroidvania has everything that you could possibly want from a Metroidvania. Except for, well, Samus and the Belmont family, am I right? Since its inception, which of course was just right now, this fresh new genre has run rampant on the eShop, with tons of different games trying to take a stab at its style. But with so many different games out there, which one do you choose? So today, we're here to share with you our picks of the very best Metroidvanias on the Switch, in no particular order. This list was put together thanks to the help of our contributors and staff over at NintendoLife.com. And if you'd like to read more about any of the games that we talk about in this list, we'll actually have full review links to all of the games in the description down below. So with that out of the way, let's get on to the list! We're starting out this list with a classic, arguably essential title for the genre, Cave Story Plus. Its wonderful story, fantastic controls, and charming visuals make it a must-have for fans of the genre. Cave Story was originally developed as a one-man passion project and released on PC back in 2004. However, many Nintendo fans may remember it from the days of WiiWare or even the 3DS. While Cave Story Plus isn't the longest game on this list, it's a perfectly sized portion that anyone can easily finish in a weekend, and we highly recommend you do. Most cats are cute, cuddly creatures that sometimes just want to be left alone on the shelf in your closet. And other cats have bigger goals of exploring alien planets and fighting off menacing aliens. And in Gato Roboto, you get to be one wicked cat. You play as a kitten named Kiki, whose owner just crash landed their ship into an alien planet. And after stumbling upon a mech suit that's coincidentally crafted for her needs, she quickly realizes it's up to her to bring them home. While its difficulty does leave something to be desired, some people may see its brevity as a plus point, and the game is chock full of meaningful upgrades, secrets, and spectacular boss battles to keep any Meowtroidvania fan happy. Shantae has been around for ages, but for anyone who hasn't played an entry in the series, they may be surprised to learn that Shantae actually falls into the Metroidvania category. Each entry is packed with tons of collectibles, new abilities, and a huge map to explore, and Half-Genie Hero is no different. But what makes this series unique is Shantae's transformation powers. Shantae learns a number of different animal transformations throughout the journey that allow her to explore previously blocked off areas of the map. This one may be a bit more linear than its predecessors, but it is still an absolute treat to dive into. And if you've already made your way through this one, then maybe we can interest you in Shantae's more recent outing on Switch. Shantae and the Seven Sirens is the culmination of everything WayForward has learned since their original release. It pulls some of the best elements from the titles that came before it, such as the dungeons and faster transformations, while adding in a new collectible card system and new lovable characters. You really can't go wrong with a Shantae game, and we're happy to see a wealth of them on Switch. SteamWorld Dig 2 is another excellent contender from the team over at Image and Form. Not only is it stylish and good looking, it also has the series trademark humor and a pretty good soundtrack. What makes this a unique experience is that, as you'd expect, you have to dig your way through the mines in search of gems, upgrades, and ultimately, your missing friend. SteamWorld Dig 2 refines and expands upon the qualities of the original and hits some excellent high points. The original SteamWorld Dig is also a worthy title for this list, but isn't required reading for anyone looking to dive into the sequel. So in that case, we highly recommend you choose SteamWorld Dig 2.
At times, The Messenger may look like your everyday side-scrolling action game, but it actually has a lot more to offer than just that. Featuring a surprisingly long campaign with boatloads of humor, a stellar soundtrack, and tight, challenging level design, The Messenger is full of surprises around every corner, and we'd be doing you a disservice by spoiling one of its major gameplay hooks. Of course, you can read our full review if you want to learn more, but if you can, we recommend jumping through this one as blind as possible. The Messenger is one of the very best, a game that every Metroidvania fan should play. Seeing Cuphead, at the time, Microsoft exclusive game, come to Switch was a real surprise to all of us. So to then see Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition, a graphically impressive title for the Xbox One, make a successful leap as well was shocking to say the least. What we have here is a flawless port, running at 60 FPS from start to finish. Ori and the Blind Forest is a real joy to play, challenging yet never feeling unfair or discouraging. The organically magical art style and musical score are the icing on the cake that makes the player actually care about the protagonist and want to keep playing till the very end. And once you've made your way to the finish line, you can dive right back into its world with Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Though slightly more linear than the Blind Forest, Will of the Wisps still scratches that Metroidvania itch beautifully. The addition of more customization options, a greater focus on combat, and a better developed story allows the sequel to, arguably, outshine the original. Even with a few stability issues, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is a must-buy for anyone even the slightest bit interested. This is an absolutely enjoyable platform adventure that everybody should someday experience, and we're still shook it's made its way onto Switch. Next up is sort of an oddball for the list, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Yoku's Island Express is a genuine breath of fresh air, combining pinball and Metroidvania mechanics in a way that feels truly unique. It's a charming and precious gem that follows the tale of a tiny little beetle named Yoku and his ball, which of course he uses to fling himself along the many parts of the map. We've never played anything else like this before, and we hope it isn't the last time we do either. Even though plenty of Metroidvanias have released since the launch of Blaster Master Zero all the way back in 2017, it still holds its ground quite well on the eShop. It's a loving homage to a series that hasn't honestly received much love in years, and the team at Inti Creates has done an excellent job expanding on the already unique concepts. Half of its gameplay consists of side-scrolling platforming action, while its bosses and some other areas come at you with a top-down perspective. Regardless of if you remember the days of playing the original on the NES or are just intrigued by its style, it's easy to give Blaster Master Zero a heavy recommendation. One of the more recent and lesser known titles on our list is Alwa's Legacy, a definite diamond in the rough with its solid dungeon design, tight controls, and gorgeous graphics. It's an excellent example of how to do a proper sequel, reminding you of the kind of quality that's possible when a dedicated crew puts in the time to make a polished and tightly crafted final product like this. Gorgeous to behold and equally delightful to play, Timespinner is yet another top-notch Metroidvania on Switch. While it may not be the toughest adventure on the list, it kept us hooked with an intriguing sci-fi tale that motivated us to explore every pixel of its magical world. Timespinner may be born of the era of the Super Nintendo, but it doesn't live in the past. What would a Metroidvania Switch games list be without Hollow Knight? It feels like it's found its natural home on Switch. The game's beautiful 2D world, tactile combat, and impressive batch of secrets constantly drag you in for more, and it proves to be as strong of an experience on the move as it is on your TV. Hollow Knight is one of the very best, a big, beautiful, foreboding Metroidvania that's absolutely thick with detail. From its punchy combat system to its charming art and sound design, this is one of the finest adventures you can have on Nintendo Switch. But we'll see if the eagerly awaited Hollow Knight Silk Song has anything to say about that when it releases someday on Switch. The original treasure hunting title from the days of WiiWare was a masterpiece in its own right, but we contend that it's been edged out by the sequel, La Mulana 2. What we have here is an expertly paced, crushingly difficult, and utterly mystifying adventure that constantly beckons you to explore deeper and acquaint yourself with its unique charms. La Mulana 2 definitely isn't for everybody. If you consider yourself an impatient or clumsy player, steer clear. But those who put in the time and effort to crack this nut will be deeply satisfied they did so. Guacamelee 2 is a dazzling, thrilling action platformer with a potent cocktail of combat and platforming components, all set in a creative and colorful game world. The game picks up 7 years after the original, but kindly catches anyone up to speed who may not be familiar with its origin. And while it may get a bit claustrophobic at times, this is one of the only games on this list that features up to 4-player co-op. Having a friend around to tear down some of the bosses can really make all the difference. Monster Boy in the Cursed Kingdom is a downright joy to play. It does its spiritual predecessors proud by nailing the Wonder Boy mechanics while still offering something that will appeal to modern audiences. Similar in nature to the Shantae series, the main character's gameplay hook is the ability to transform into different animals throughout the journey, giving you new skills that allow you to solve different puzzles and allow you to access different portions of the map. As long as you can appreciate that it's still very much an old school game at heart, you're going to thoroughly enjoy playing through this adventure. It may not be Wonder Boy by name, but it's definitely wonderful by nature. Blasphemous is a beautifully crafted Souls-like Metroidvania, set in a delightfully unhinged, deliriously gory world filled with well-designed enemies, satisfyingly meaty combat, and some truly memorable and grotesque boss battles. Its rules of life and death are governed in much the same way as From Software's titles, whilst the backtracking traversal and pixel-perfect platformer falls much into the classic Metroid mold. Spanish developers The Game Kitchen have created a nightmare, one that will truly test your combat and platforming skills and leave you begging for more after the final bloody battle. Dead Cells is an absolute masterclass in excellent roguelike design, mixing together non-stop intense action sequences, gorgeous vistas, and an addictive loop of unlocks and rewards into a beautiful experience that no Switch owner will want to go without. There's dozens, if not hundreds of hours of content available here, and though some sense of repetition can creep in every now and then, it's remarkable how fresh Dead Cells can stay through all those hours. Iconoclasts is a memorable, thought-provoking, and enjoyable take on the genre, which manages to stick out from the crowd with its chipper presentation and deeper storytelling style. Couple these elements with some of the best 16-bit sprite work we've seen and a killer lineup of awesome boss encounters, and you've got another must-have for the Switch library. It may have been 8 years in the making, but this one has certainly been worth the wait, so don't gloss over this one. We're not really sure who, but they do always say don't judge a book by its cover, and you definitely shouldn't judge this game based on its movie tie-in either. WayForward's The Mummy Demastered deserves to stand on its own as one of the best recent examples of not only a pixel art aesthetic, but as an excellent combination of run and gunning, platforming, and exploration. The game benefits from paying homage to multiple 16-bit ancestors rather than strictly sticking to its source material. The Mummy Demastered is a polished, accomplished, and satisfying adventure that will entertain more than just Metroidvania fans. Owlboy is a three-pronged attack of success. The gameplay is tight, satisfying, and remains fresh throughout. The game's world is visually stunning thanks to some truly masterful pixel art, and you'll find yourself really caring about the cast of characters in the world surrounding them long before the credits roll. If you ever find this one on sale or catch it at a local shop near you, you should do yourself a favor and pick this one up. It's not often where a game comes along and lets you play the villain. Some could argue the traditional hero in a video game isn't as heroic as we may think. After all, most video game characters will destroy anything that blinks. But in Carrion, you are the definition of destruction. It's a fairly formulaic Metroidvania, but its core gameplay of tearing through room after room on the mission to turn mere humans into wet hunks of flesh never gets old. Carrion definitely isn't for everyone, but if you're looking for something with a dark and disturbing twist on the genre, then look no further. Minoria is a great Metroidvania that we'd hate to see slip under the radar amongst the more well-known titles on this list. It's not quite as feature-rich as others and has a fairly short runtime, but the combat is so impressive that we'd urge you to check it out. If sword-wielding nuns and evil witches are your thing, then you're in the right place. Axiom Verge on Switch is a truly outstanding port of an outstanding game that improves on the ideas of its inspiration in many ways. From a presentation standpoint, it delivers in a meaningful way, presenting you with an unfriendly and alluring world that you just can't help but explore. The further you delve into Axiom Verge, the more questions you end up with and the more curious you become. You won't find a game closer to the true formula of Metroid than this.
Well, heavens to Belmont, that sure was a big list of games. Hopefully we've shed some light on some games that you might not have already been aware of, or something that you might not have considered. And if not, we're sure a new Metroid has probably spawned on the eShop during the time it took you to watch this video anyways. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like this, then why don't you go ahead and whip out your plasma cannon and blast that subscribe button into oblivion, and then ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we release new videos. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm ZM from Nintendo Life. Stay safe out there and we will see you next time.